Welcome to View from the Garage. Today we're going to be doing a used car review on a 2017 RAV4. It's going to be a 3-year ownership report, and we're going to attempt to answer the question, is this a good used vehicle or should you run far, far away? The answer in just a minute. So our 2017 RAV4 is finished in Galactic Aqua Pearl paints, and it has a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, a 6-speed automatic transmission. It has an automatic limited slip differential, 4-wheel disc brakes, and 4-wheel independent suspension. Being an XLE model, it has silver accents on the bumpers and on the mirror caps. And if we take a closer look at the aluminum wheels, you'll note that they are 17-inch, and they have 225/65/17 all-season tires, in this case made by Continental. This model has projector beam headlamps with an automatic high beam feature and auto on-off, and it also has fog lamps on this particular car. There are roof rails, a power moonroof, intermittent windshield wipers, and on the inside you'll note that there's power windows, locks, mirrors, seats, liftgate, and heated seats as well. The black fabric interior is the standard for this model. We have a 6.1-inch touchscreen display for the infotainment unit, which has Bluetooth, CD player, AM, FM, all of the toys. It has a 4.2-inch multi-function screen between the gauges, tilt and telescoping steering with steering wheel controls. As well, the center console has a padded armrest and a 2-tier storage system. You'll note that this vehicle has all-season rubber floor mats, as well as the carpeted mats that came with it. In the back, it has a split folding rear seat. As well, there is a fold-down armrest and cup holders in the middle of the back seat. You'll also note that there are latch anchors for child safety seats. And in the back of the front seats, there are storage pockets. And in the back of the console, there is a 12-volt power outlet. Now, in order to fold those seats flat, there is a folding headrest feature, which flips down, makes the seats fold almost flat when they go down. In the cargo area, there is a handy retractable cover for your storage so that people can't see what you have in the back, and that is removable if you decide it's in the way. And this is the power liftgate feature in action. And that's it for a quick walk around of the 2017 RAV4. Alright, so we're going to find out, what's it like to live with a 2017 Toyota RAV4. Well, it's a pretty pleasant place to be overall. Seats are fairly comfortable, and there's lots of features. Gauges are well laid out, controls are easy to understand for the most part. There are a few complaints. For example, the touchscreen in 2017 was already a little bit dated, and what happens is, of course, now 3 years down the road, it seems much more less state-of-the-art than it did in 2017. But the biggest complaint is connectivity. So, you can connect your phone, and when you get in the car, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There has been a software upgrade. The other issue is the touchscreen is less responsive, and of course that's just a product of the time that it was built in. But for example, the radio buttons on the screen are kind of hard. You sometimes have to hit them more than once. I don't know if it'll do it. Let's see if I can show you here. It's kind of hard to change stations. I know I have fat fingers, but it is occasionally requiring more than one stab of the fat finger in order to get it to make the change that you want. But like I said, it's generally pretty well laid out. Dual climate controls, touchscreen radio. It does have some features where you can look at the trip record in terms of lapse time, speed, fuel economy. It also records your fuel economy in terms of tanks. There's the average that's been getting with the driving that it typically sees. It's usually 10 to 10.5 liters per 100 over the tank. That's a mix of city and highway. The best showing is 7.5 liters per 100 for a tank, and that was on a highway trip, almost all highway. The audio system also has a CD player, AM, FM, also Bluetooth. You can hook up to your phone. You can play music from your phone, as most vehicles allow you to. Also has an information display in between the gauges, which is pretty handy. You can set that for various different things. There's 10.6 liters per 100 is the fuel economy on this tank full. You can also go and look at settings for safety, warnings. You can look at your gauge settings, change the language, change the units. It's got an eco mode. It's got a lot of different things that you can change if you have the time and patience to scroll through everything. So you might wonder, why didn't I get the all-wheel drive RAV4? I mean, I live in Canada. Wouldn't you use that all the time in the snow? Well, the truth is, it's an extra cost option. I think it was a $2,200 difference between the front-wheel drive RAV4 and the all-wheel drive RAV4. And there were features that we would rather have in the XLE model, heated seats, sunroof, fog lights, various alloy wheels, that weren't standard on the LE model. And to go in the price range we wanted, it was either a all-wheel drive LE or a front-wheel drive XLE. So we thought about it and decided we'd rather go with winter tires on a front-wheel drive XLE, and that's what we did. It cost us less money up front. It's better on gas as a result, less maintenance. And honestly, with the winter tires, you get by just fine, even in Canada. There might be once or twice a year where the thought crosses your mind of, oh, maybe I should have had the all-wheel drive, but we've never been stuck. We've never gone off the road. I will say that the traction control that comes with these vehicles is awful. It's way too restrictive, doesn't allow any wheel spin. So, logically you might think, well, that's what it's supposed to do. And why do you say it's awful? Well, in the snow, when there's a little bit of an accumulation, you need some wheel spin, or you are just going to come to a dead stop. And that's sometimes what happens. You've got your foot to the floor and you're trying to go, and the car is saying no, 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 and it's just bringing you to a complete stop. At which time you have to try to remember how to defeat the traction control so that you can drive, normally in the snow. Unfortunately, you have to do that every time the vehicle is started up, I believe. But we get by just fine with the front-wheel drive. Like I said, it also has a benefit of being a little bit better on gas and a lot less expensive to buy up front. So do you really need the all-wheel drive? Stop and think about it before you automatically jump into an all-wheel drive crossover or SUV. We're behind the wheel of a 2017 RAV4, and we're going to see how it drives. So first thing you notice is it's got decent power, not any complaints there. Gas pedal's a little bit touchy. Having had the vehicle for a while, I've gotten used to it, but every time I jump into the vehicle after driving my truck, I do find it really, really touchy, and I touch the gas a little bit and then sometimes end up squealing the tires. It's a front-wheel drive, so maybe if I had the all-wheel drive it wouldn't do that, but brakes are good and firm. A little bit touchy compared to my truck, but no complaints there really. Steering has a nice weight to it. A little bit darty It just means it's got a fast steering system, and you know that sometimes out on the highway on a windy day you end up trying to correct for the wind, and it's a little bit difficult because you're kind of darty with the steering and you're not going straight, but not too bad. Compared to other crossovers in the segment, the steering has a little more weight to it, and in my opinion that's a good thing. I like to have some steering weight in the absence of steering feel these days. At least it's something. Gives a little bit of resistance. In terms of ride and handling, ride's okay. Do have a few issues with kind of bouncing forward, backward, kind of a hobby horse on some road surfaces. Maybe that's because of the short wheelbase. Maybe it's because it's a front-wheel drive and it doesn't have the all-wheel drive system in the back and the suspension set up there. I'm not sure. I haven't actually driven an all-wheel drive in this generation of RAV4 to know if that is a difference. But certainly nothing that really jumps out as a problem in the ride and handling. Just maybe not class leading in either ride or handling. If you want a good handling vehicle in this segment, obviously maybe start with a Mazda CX-5 or possibly the Ford Escape on some of the models, or the CR-V, but this one is inoffensive. You know, there's no problems with it. Drives pretty nice, but it's not anything to get excited over, and typically most of these crossovers, that's going to be the case. So the RAV4 accelerates smoothly and adequately. It's not a hot rod by any means, but nobody buys crossovers because they're going to take them to the local drag strip, and they're certainly not buying them to take to the local racetrack and go around corners fast either. But you know what, it rides well enough, it handles well enough. That's the thing about the RAV4. It does everything well enough, and that's why they're so popular. Good vehicle. They do lots of things well, and for 3 years, we've thrown everything at this, and for the most part, we're pretty happy with it. Just a few little glitches that we might change if we were redesigning it, and Toyota has since come out with a redesigned version. Some of the things that we nitpicked, well, they've been redesigned, so maybe we weren't the only ones with those same complaints. The RAV4 has a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, and in 2017, when we went shopping for a crossover, most of the other competing vehicles at that time, and I think still it's about the same situation, most of them had a 1.5 liter turbo engine. So of course the marketing benefits of the turbo engines were smaller engine, slightly better gas mileage. With the turbo, would give you more torque, so they were trying to sell both a performance and an economy benefit of going with the 1.5 liter turbo. Real world, we decided to go naturally aspirated because at the time those engines were untested, and they didn't have a lot of history behind them to know that they were reliable and that they were actually going to save gas. So we bought the naturally aspirated engine. That was our preference. In terms of fuel economy, we kind of wonder, well, did we pay a penalty by going with the naturally aspirated engine? But there's a fuel economy loop, driving loop, that my wife and I put together when we were test driving these vehicles. About 15 kilometers long, little bit of city and some 2-lane country roads, 50 mile an hour speed limit. So on that loop, we took several vehicles down that exact same loop, and specifically the Equinox with the 1.5 turbo, the Escape with the 1.5 turbo, and then this RAV4 with the 2.5 without the turbo. And really, honestly, they all range between 8.1 and 8.3 liters per 100. It's not even worth trying to calculate your fuel savings at that point or your fuel penalty. So in my opinion, I don't believe that we actually paid a premium in gas by not going with those smaller turbo engines, and as a result of getting that engine that we did, it's been around for a while. It's been used in the Camry as well. And we know it's reliable, and it has been for us. So it's just more of a peace of mind thing. They all, I think, need the synthetic oil, so you're not really saving any money by going one over the other in that regard. But it's just that what happens if something breaks down that we were kind of dealing with, and that's why we prioritize that over newer, better, the 1.5 turbo that the marketing people were saying, you got to have it. Now, the other models might have been just as reliable, but you can check out other websites, Consumer Reports, whatever, and have a look for yourself to know if you're shopping for a crossover, whether those were reliable or not. And I may have some used car reviews on some of those models coming up as well, so that we can speak to real world owners and see exactly what their experiences were and how they compared to ours. Now, the cargo capacity of the RAV4 has been, it's been okay. You can always use more space, I think. I think that's typical in most situations, at least when you have kids. But we have been able to take, 3 people and go for, a long weekend with all of our belongings and luggage. Yes, it's full, cramped, but everything fits, it works, and prevents you from having to go, minivan or whatever to get more cargo. Maybe the leg room in the back, you might want to, Toyota, if you're listening, take a little bit of that excess leg room in the back seat and put it into the cargo area. My wife would certainly have liked that, I think, to have just an inch or two more space back there. We know that if you go to Costco on a weekly basis, hey, you're probably okay. But if you wait and go every 2 weeks and it's a big haul that you're bringing home, well, you might have to pack very carefully so that it all fits. We have been through that, and if you're carrying anything in the back already and you do a Costco run, sometimes you run out of space. The other thing is, if you are caring for someone who has mobility issues and you're carrying around a walker or a wheelchair, from experience, I will let you know they do fit, but they do take up an awful lot of space. So test fit any of the items that you're going to need to carry, whether it be a stroller or a walker or a wheelchair or anything like that. If it's going to be regularly in the back of your car, test it out, make sure it fits, make sure it gives you enough space left over for groceries and Costco or wherever you go to do your shopping. Okay, so what do we think of the Toyota RAV4 after 3 years of ownership? I wouldn't say abuse, but hard use by family with kids. Well, it's held up really well. The seats, as you can see from the pictures and the video, have a few spots on them that brush off. The black upholstery was certainly quite durable. Mechanically, we've had very few issues with it. Like I noted before, the connectivity for the touchscreen and the radio and the phones was probably the biggest annoyance. And if that's the worst thing I can say about it, then that's probably pretty good. The only other things we've done are regular maintenance, tire rotations, oil changes, air filter changes, some fluid flushes as required in the owner's manual. We haven't had to replace the tires, as I noted, because we run snow tires in the winter here in Canada at 68,000 kilometers. The original tires, the Continentals, still have a fair bit of life left on them. They're above the wear bars, but they are getting loud, and apparently that's pretty common for those tires, the Toyota technician tells us. Other than that, there have been a few clunks and groans that we've had the service department take a look at. Nothing major has been accounted for. Really, it has lived up to the reputation of a Toyota as far as being durable. So should you buy a RAV4? Well, if you're in the market for a used crossover vehicle, you want something for, family with, 3 or 4 people that you're going to be taking in the car, and you want it to have, decent gas mileage and enough space to carry your goods, yeah, you should check these vehicles out. The RAV4 is a solid vehicle, well built, durable and reliable, and it'll do what you need it to do for the most part, as long as you're not thinking that you're gonna buy this vehicle to go off-roading or tow a heavy trailer, because that's just not what they're designed for. But I would recommend these vehicles. They're a good vehicle, and they are commanding a bit of a premium on the used market. Resale values are high, but I do believe that is worth it because of the reliability, as well as the resale value that you're going to get if you decide to sell it again. So sometimes you just gotta pay a little bit more up front and get a little bit more down the road, whether it be through increased reliability or whether it be through higher resale when you sell it. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, and if you haven't, feel free to hit the thumbs down button. That's a free country, free world, do what you like. However, if you'd like to see more reviews of new cars, used cars, and classic cars, I will be doing those on the channel. So please subscribe so you don't miss any of those episodes. I know that I've got 2 or 3 in the works that will be coming out shortly that you won't want to miss. So please like, share, and subscribe, and have a great day.